Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. We're excited to be here with the Expedition 54 and Expedition 55 crew, who will be launching to the International Space Station from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on December 17th at 1:20 a.m. Central Time, which will be 1:20 p.m. in Baikonur. With us today is first-time space flyer Scott Tingle, and then next to him we have Japanese Aerospace astronaut Norishege Kanai, and then finally you have Anton Shkaplerov from the Roscosmos Russian Space Agency. It's Scott and Nemo's first flight, and Anton is a veteran cosmonaut. All right, I want to recognize also some special guests we have here in the room. We have several Houston maker organizations, including Innovation Spark, which is a nonprofit organization who is committed to the advancement of STEM in the greater Houston area. You will have a chance to ask questions in a little bit after we introduce the crew. First, let's have Scott, Norishege, and Anton talk a little bit about their upcoming mission that they are currently training for, and then we'll take questions for them. With that, let me turn to Scott Tingle. Scott, this is your first time leaving this planet, so how excited are you feeling? What are you looking forward to?
Well, there's a lot of things to be excited about. Being the first time, almost everything I'm going to do on a day-to-day basis for the time frame that from now until I come back, will be the first time that I've ever done it. And with that is just pure excitement. But I think the big thing I'm going to be looking forward to is that we've been training for a long time, 7 years just at JSC and then 2 years just for this mission. There's literally been hundreds and maybe thousands of people that have had their hand in making us ready and getting the mission planned and making sure it goes through safe and expeditiously. I'm really looking forward to working with all those folks on the loops and getting the science done that they need and getting the operations done safely and expeditiously.
Awesome, thank you. You guys have been training for a long time, and now we're just a couple months away from the big launch, so thanks, excited. All right, Norishege, what are you looking forward to for this upcoming mission, also your first space flight?
Yes, this is my first space flight, and I'm very excited with flying with these two nice crewmates, and Scott and I have been working together since 2009 when we selected as an astronaut candidate, and Anton, our commander, is very experienced space flyer, so I'm pretty much confident with success of our space flight, especially since my background is a medical doctor, medical science, so I'm looking for doing lots of scientific researches on board the station.
Thank you. All right, so you guys are both our rookies here, and you both will be flight engineers on Expedition 54 and also Expedition 55. And then Anton, our veteran cosmonaut, you will be a flight engineer on 54 and also the commander of Expedition 55. You've been to the space station before, but what are you looking forward to for this mission?
Ну, я, конечно, имею уже опыт полетов в космос, и у меня нет никакого страха. Я уверен в нашем российском корабле «Союз», на котором мы полетим до станции, вернемся обратно. Я знаю станцию. Буквально 2 года назад еще на ней был. Жил и работал в течение почти 200 дней. У меня прекрасный экипаж, 2 прекрасных бортинженера, которые знают технику на 100%. Поэтому я думаю, что любые нештатные ситуации, которые могут произойти в космосе, мы решим их так, как нас здесь учили наши специалисты.
I have prior spaceflight experience. I have no fear going up in space again. I have full confidence in our Soyuz vehicle. I was on board of the ISS practically 2 years ago and spent 200 days living and working on board of the ISS. I have great crew. I have full confidence in my wonderful flight engineers. They know hardware and all the technology very well. And I believe that we're going to follow the procedures that they trained us to work with on the ground.
Thank you. All right, now we'll start with questions. We have media here and guests here at Johnson Space Center, some reporters on the phone. You can also ask a question on social media using the hashtag AskNASA. And we also will have, as I said, people here in the room, and we'll take questions. All right, so if you're on the phone bridge, please press *1 if you have a question, and then press *2 to withdraw your question if it's already been answered. All right, you will be allowed one question and a follow-up. Please state your name and affiliation before asking your question. So we'll start with media and guests in the room here. Robert? And please wait for the mic and we'll get you a mic.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com. For Scott, I think it may have slipped past your expedition, but can you talk a little bit about potentially the first Crew Dragon unmanned test arriving, how much preparation you've done for it as a crew, and what that preparation consisted of?
Well, we didn't really prepare too much for it. It's on the schedule to happen, and if it started looking like it was a realistic target, then we would be training quite a bit more. The procedures that we would use would pretty much be standard procedures for any visiting vehicle or any transport vehicle to arrive on station. So the amount of training that we would do on station, real time, just prior to the arrival, would probably ramp up, and it would probably take a couple of weeks of training on getting more familiar with the systems, more familiar with the processes, and some of the limitations on that. But we've had a little bit of overview on Dragon. I used to work commercial crew, several years ago. So we all have, as a crew, we have a general knowledge of the systems and how it should work for that. But other than that, we don't see it coming into our schedule while we're there. But if it does start looking like it will, then we'll ramp up and start training more intensely.
Great question, and for those of you who don't know, we are looking forward to commercial crew flights where our contract partners, Boeing and SpaceX, are building vehicles to launch astronauts from America to the space station. So we're very excited for that. All right, another question?
Yes, my name is Jared Williams with Creator Space, local makerspace in Lake City. And I was going to ask, do you have your own makerspace, or are you part of the one here at NASA? Because I know you guys do have one. And if not, do you have an affiliation with one of the local makerspaces?
I do not, and I just actually learned about the Maker organization as I was preparing for this interview. I got on the web a little bit last night and started looking at all you do, and it's amazing. And I would like to get more involved in it when I get back from my mission, or maybe during the mission, if we can send up some documents for that. So thank you for coming out and showing us all what you do. And I see the bus out there, and I got to go take a look at that. That looks pretty cool.
Awesome. All right, we have another question over here.
Hey, my name is Dave Brunet. I'm with Innovation Spark, and so we're promoting kids' interest in STEAM education. So seeing how long it took you to prepare for this mission, what advice would you have for the young kids coming up? And what would they need to do to prepare to maybe participate in a NASA mission in the future?
I think the biggest thing that they can do is to get a good education. Really focus hard on making that happen. If they like, building systems, fixing systems, wondering how systems work, that's a benefit that will carry their interest through all of the education that they should have. But they should concentrate on education. And if they find a point of something that they love, whether it's in technology or art or music or whatever, it doesn't matter. We have room for all of them in the human spaceflight community. It takes all types. We're probably one of the most diverse groups that you'd ever find in any corporation out there. The mission is incredible, and if you have a love for space, it doesn't matter what you do. Do it well. Do whatever it is you like well, and then bring it to the space community, because we want it.
Thanks. Do Nemo or Anton, do you want to add anything about education or inspiring the next generation?
Actually, when I was a kid, I was never thinking about becoming an astronaut. But for some reason, I am here. So I think,
Yay.
I don't know. That's very interesting. But I'm thinking about my teachers, my parents. They directed me to the right direction. Whenever I think about I'm studying something else, they just direct me to the right direction. Then because of them, I'll be there. So.
Right. Anton?
В отличие от Нима, это была моя мечта с детства, полететь в космос. И я с детства, шаг за шагом, шел к этой мечте, как сказал мейкер, я старался учиться лучше и лучше, получать как можно больше образования.
I should say that my dream to become a cosmonaut and go into space has been my childhood dream, and I was advancing the dream step by step. And the Makerspace representative mentioned I was working hard to advance my education to achieve that purpose.
Ну а для ребят во всем мире я хочу сказать, что в принципе стать космонавтом, как я могу сказать на своем примере, это довольно не тяжело. Надо просто действительно хорошо учиться, слушаться старших родителей, не пить, не курить, не баловаться наркотиками, заниматься спортом. И в принципе у всех есть шанс полететь в космос.
And for kids all over the world, I should say that using my example, it is not that difficult to become a cosmonaut or an astronaut. You need to study hard. You need to listen to adults, follow directions, no drinking, no smoking, no drugs, lots of sports, and you can pursue your dream.
Great, thank you. All right, we have another question over here.
I'm Ethan Saudia with PCs for Me, and my question is, well, I've noticed that your Twitter handle is AstroMaker, and I'm wondering what kind of things you like making, and if you will be involved with the Raspberry Pi AstroPi program aboard the International Space Station.
Am I part of that?
You might
I have
be.
to ask the boss here.
I believe it's a European Space Agency experiment. I don't know if you guys have more info on it, but you may. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see when we get there. I haven't been briefed on it or been part of it yet. So my call sign is AstroMaker on Twitter, and that comes from when I was a pilot in the Navy. That my colleagues called me Maker. And it did not have to do because I made things. It had other reasons, and then which I won't talk about today. But it's more than a great coincidence. I do like making things. I do like fixing things. I got a lot of tools at home, and I have a small garage, but it gets everything done. And when the dishwasher breaks, I pull it out and I'll put a pump in it or take it apart. The clothes washer breaks, I'll take it out, put a new motor in it. And if the car breaks, I'll pull that out, take the motor out, put another one in it, and whatever it needs to happen. And occasionally I'll get some tools out and make some nice little ornament things or some plaques for my friends that I've done in the past. So. If it's a system, I like getting into it and seeing how it works, and I try to fix it. Not just because I'm cheap, although I am cheap, but because it's cool. Going in and seeing how all the wires work and how all the mechanical interfaces work, and just getting it working. And it's a challenge for me, being a little bit older and working all the electronics into these systems and doing the troubleshooting. So I'm starting to gear up my toolbox when it for electronic troubleshooting as well. I'm trying to get my kids interested in it as well. If you guys have any ideas how to do that, I'd appreciate it. But that's pretty much it.
And that will, of course, be a big job for you and the whole crew on the space station, because there's a lot of maintenance involved on the space station, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of things to fix up there. The job won't stop once you get to space. All right, next question.
Hello, H. Yasami with Kyoto News, the Japanese Wire. For three of you, please describe the impression that you have for each other as a fellow crew. Thank you.
I love these guys like my brothers. We've trained hard for a year and a half now, and it can be very challenging. It's very intense, and we work very hard, very long hours, and so we take care of each other. I have 100% trust for both these folks. I couldn't be more luckier than going up with Anton and Nemo. Your family.
As Scott mentioned, we are like a family or brothers, and especially Scott and I were working together for 80 years almost, and we know each other very well. And Anton is very, very experienced, as I mentioned before, and he flew with, of course, Russian cosmonauts and American astronauts and European, Italian astronauts, Japanese. You stayed with other Japanese astronauts in the previous mission, so very international, very experienced, like a big brother leading us to the right direction.
Awesome. Anton?
Ну, спасибо огромное за хорошие слова. Я хочу подтвердить, действительно, мы как одна команда, как одна семья.
Thank you very much for your kind words. I would like to confirm that yes, we're indeed one big team, one big family.
В течение 1,5 года наша тренировка состоит из поездок в различные космические агентства, такие как Роскосмос, это в Москву, сюда в Хьюстон, мы ездим в Токио, мы посещаем Германию, Кёльн, все вместе, все вот прямо одним экипажем.
And during the 1.5 years of training, our training consists of a lot of trips to different agencies. For example, Roscosmos, that means going to Moscow, Houston here, Germany, Cologne, Japan, Tsukuba, and we travel as one crew.
И мы не только общаемся втроем, мы общаемся с нашими семьями, поэтому перед полетом в космос мы знаем друг друга как очень близкие люди. И надеюсь, что в космосе, я даже уверен, у нас никаких проблем между нами, между нашим общением не будет.
And we not only work together as a 3-person crew, we also spend time together with our families, with the 3 of our families. And we are hoping that by the time we get to space, we're not going to experience any interrelationship or any interpersonal problems.
Yeah, the space station is truly international. We have a great representation of that here with our American, Japanese, and Russian representatives. And you guys, it's amazing to see how well you all work together, different languages, but you're all doing the job up there. So very cool. Thank you. All right, next question.
My name is Makoto Mitsui from the Yomiuri Shimbun, Japanese newspaper. This question goes to Mr. Shkaplerov and Mr. Tingle. So this question is related to the previous one. I would like to impression of Mr. Kanai in detail. So what is the Mr. Kanai's excellent point as an astronaut, and what is his role as a team in terms of keeping good relation in your team? Thank you.
Nemo is first a great friend. He's very trusty, very reliable, and I can count on him to help me when I need it. Even when I don't know I need it, he knows I need it, and he helps. Another great tribute to Nemo is that he is incredibly smart. When we're doing simulators together, Anton and I will be looking at the procedures, and there's a choice to make, left or right. And we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll look at Nemo, and Nemo goes, right. And we know that Nemo is always right.
Ну, во-первых, скажу, что Нима это молодой и довольно умный человек, и я думаю, что у него большое будущее именно в космической программе, как астронавта.
I believe that Nemo is a young person, and he has a great future in the space exploration program.
Когда мы первый раз с ним встретились, он практически не говорил ни на русском языке, ни на английском. И буквально через несколько месяцев я видел его, как он сидит за партой и слушает инструкторов уже без переводчиков.
And the first time we met, he spoke neither Russian nor English. And several months later, I saw him sitting at a desk and listening to instructors without interpretation.
Ну, то есть это подчеркивает, какой-то трудолюбивый человек. И могу сказать, что если он что-то изучает, то изучает все до последнего винтика. То есть он знает все очень глубоко, на все 100%.
It emphasizes what kind of a hardworking person he is, and if he's studying something, you can be sure that he's going to study everything to the very last bolt, and he studies the entire process throughout.
И нам с Мейкером повезло, мы 2 летчика, и с нами летит доктор, поэтому я уверен, что в течение полугодовой экспедиции, если у нас возникнут проблемы со здоровьем, Нима нас быстро вылечит, и мы здоровы прилетим обратно на Землю.
And we're flying to space with the Maker, and we're going to have a medical doctor on board. So within 6 months, we can be confident that if something doesn't feel right and we need medical help, then Nemo will cure us, and we will come back to Earth fit and healthy.
It's definitely nice to have a doctor on board. That's great. Thank you. All right, we have a follow-up question.
Yes, my
Follow-up was, are you guys going to be able to make it to the Houston Maker Faire coming up next week, the 21st and 22nd? And also, it's an open invitation for both my makerspace and the other makerspaces for any astronauts or other NASA people to, come and experience what a makerspace is.
I'm going to try to get up there on the 22nd. I'm in Cincinnati until the 21st. So if I can get up there, it'll be on, I think, Sunday the 22nd, right? Excellent. Yeah, we'll give it a try. Okay.
All right. We have another question in the audience.
Yes, my name is Greg Radliff, and I'd like to ask, I know that y'all spent the last year and a half working together, but did you also have time to work with a crew that's already up there that you'll be partnering with for at least 3 months while you're up there?
Absolutely. We had a lot of training with the crew that's currently up there, and we've had a lot of training with the crew that's going to come up after us as well. They're all great friends. They're all great colleagues, and we've had several emergency simulators. We've shared beverages at Shep's Bar and Star City, and we've had a lot of family dinners together. So it's just a big extended family for us.
So about every 3 months, we have a new crew launch to the space station, and they launch in their Soyuz 3 at a time, and there are usually about 6 people on the space station at a time. All right, I think we have a question on the phone bridge. Just a reminder, if you have a question, you can press *1, and you can press *2 to withdraw your question. We have Jill Tolk with the Randolph Herald.
Yes, Maker, as you know, this is your hometown newspaper, but I have a question for you, Nemo, and Anton. Could you all talk about the importance of your individual hometown communities during your mission, the entire mission, but especially on orbit?
You want to go? Yeah, so the hometown is so critical to, I'm sure, all of us. The people there, the relationships we had, the experiences we had growing up, whether it's with family, friends, or academic, it becomes part of you, and you don't realize it for several years, but you get 30, 40 years down the road, and you start to realize all of the little things that came together to make you who you are. So when I launch on Soyuz MS-07 on December 17th, all of those folks back home are going to be with me.
Awesome. Nemo, anything to add?
No, my hometown is Tokyo, but Tokyo is too big to call myself it's my hometown. But as a former Navy officer, I stationed many towns, cities all over Japan. So I feel these, the towns or people over there is kind of my, not hometown, but the close friends and close to the family members. I have that kind of feeling about the cities.
Great, and I'm sure all the people in Tokyo are going to be very proud of you and watching you as well. So it's exciting. Anton?
Ну, я горжусь тем, что я родился и вырос на юге России, в Крыму, в Севастополе. Это прекрасный город, и считаю, что именно в нем было заложено все то, что помогло мне стать тем, кем я сейчас являюсь.
My hometown, where I was born, is Sevastopol, and I believe that town gave me everything that contributed to who and what I am today.
Awesome. Thank you all. All right, we're going to take a couple questions from social media now. If you do have a question, you can ask it on social media using hashtag #AskNASA. So we have Haley here, our social media specialist. Haley?
Awesome. So the first question comes from Francisco on Facebook. He wants to know, is English the most common language on the ISS, or is there a more common language spoken between you?
Unfortunately, Japanese is not the most common language in space station, but we use both English and Russian language simultaneously or mixed up. So sometimes we call it Runglish.
And they do launch on a Russian vehicle, the Soyuz. So in that vehicle, it's pretty much all Russian, right? Yeah. So while you're launching. All right, great question. You have another one?
So this is for any of you or all three. Marissa is asking on behalf of her 5-year-old son on Facebook, how do you exercise in space?
We have lots of equipment in space, and it's actually very important to exercise. One of the big things we see when we're in space is bone loss, and we have found through active daily exercise that we can minimize that bone loss over the duration of the space flight and minimize the recovery when we return. So we have a weightlifting machine called the ARED, and I can't remember what that acronym stands for. I'm sorry.
The Advanced Resistive Exercise Device.
Excellent. Thank you. You got me out of trouble again. And we use that to lift weights. We do a lot of squats. We do a lot of presses. We work our cores as much as we can, and we're afforded a couple hours every day on the schedule to have a good workout. We also have cardiovascular, a treadmill up there, and a bicycle to exercise with. Very important to exercise every single day in space.
All right, another question?
So this one is specifically for Norishege Kanai, but for anyone really, is there any special Japanese food you're bringing with you? And for everyone, is there any special food that reminds you of home you're bringing?
Actually, yeah, JAXA, Japanese Space Agency, provides many kinds of Japanese space food. So I will bring all kinds of Japanese food and share with my crewmates.
Are you guys bringing any special food?
I'm just going to try to steal Nemo's food when he brings it on, because it's always really good.
What about you, Anton?
Ну, действительно, у нас на станции представлена еда с различных космических агентств. Это, в первую очередь, конечно, Россия, НАСА, и зависит от того, кто еще из членов экипажа находится в данный момент на борту.
It's true. We have food items represented from different countries on board of the ISS. Mostly it's Russian, NASA food items, and also the rest of the food complement depends on who is another astronaut flying on board of the ISS.
То есть еда доставляется, в принципе, для каждого в отдельности, но у нас есть хорошая всегда такая традиция. Мы обмениваемся едой, то есть кому что больше нравится, и, в принципе, так живем и работаем на станции.
Food is delivered separately for each crew member. However, we have a very good tradition of food sharing, and we choose the items each of us prefers, and that's the way we work on board.
Great, thank you. I know one thing we haven't talked about yet, of course, is really the main job of you on the space station, and that's doing science. Science to figure out how we're going to live longer in space so we can go further into space, and also to help us on Earth. So I was wondering if each of you could talk a little bit about the science you'll be doing on the space station and maybe an experiment you're looking forward to.
Sure.
Scott?
Well, at any given time, there's on the order of 250 experiments that are happening on board Space Station. It's a very busy laboratory. Some of the specific human research that I'll be working on includes a look at the spine. When we get in orbit into space, our spines extend a little bit, and so we're trying to see what the big impacts are on that. They've got a big study going that I'll be participating in on that as well. We also take a lot of blood, a lot of urine, a lot of fluids to try to see what's going on within humans when they get into space. So that's a big part of the study as well. As far as some of the physical science, we'll be looking at things like combustion and fluids and some other robotics things going on through spheres with that program. I'm actually fairly excited to see the spheres work, and that'll be part of our also part of our educational outreach program. But watching those things fly around station is pretty cool.
Spheres are robots, right? Little
Yes.
flying robots. All right, thank you. Nemo?
Yes, I'm interested in the small satellite deployment. It's been, I think, 5 years since the first small satellite deployed from Japanese module. Since then, I overheard almost 200 satellites are deployed from space station. So I wish I am going to have a chance to deploy this kind of small satellite from Japanese experimental module.
Very cool. Thank you. Anton?
Все эксперименты, которые мы делаем на станциях, можно поделить на различные сферы. Во-первых, мы изучаем нашу Землю, вокруг которой летаем, мы изучаем нас, для того, чтобы понять, как можно дольше сохранить наше тело во время длительного космического полета.
All the experiments that we perform on board of the ISS can be divided into different categories. We study our Earth, we study ourselves to see how human body can function longer in space.
И все эксперименты, в принципе, я считаю, что полезны. Но, конечно, нам больше всего нравится делать эксперименты, которые ты вживую видишь, или которые можно потрогать, что-то новое изобретаешь, что-то новое растет.
Also, the experiments are very useful. I would say our favorite experiments are of the type where you can touch the experiment items. You are inventing something new, and you can see things grow.
К сожалению, эксперименты есть, которые скучные. То есть наша задача просто включить прибор и потом через какое-то время его выключить. Но все равно это кто-то должен делать.
Unfortunately, there are some experiments that are boring. You just have to turn on the device and then turn the device off after some time, but somebody has to do it.
Nice. Thank you. That was great. Do we have any more questions in the room? Just raise your hand if you have a question. All right. One over here.
Could I just ask each of you why you were inspired to commit your life to space?
Good question.
Wow, that's a pretty big question, but
Yeah.
you know, everybody's got their own reasons. For me, it wasn't really even a huge decision. It was just a natural thing. It was in my DNA. That was a career path that I was shooting for, and all of the little milestones that lead up to it were something that I wanted in my life, just from being, you know, from childhood. So, you know, was there one thing? If there was anything, it was Neil Armstrong walking on the moon. But then after that, it was just in the middle of my head, and it just would not leave.
And you've taken, I want to elaborate a little bit, you've taken, you know, many steps to get here. Can you tell a little bit about your journey to be an astronaut, your background?
Sure. I figured out, I went to a vocational high school, and I figured out very early that it was going to take a really in-depth, intense education to be able to compete and to have value added when to bring to the astronaut corps. So I worked real hard, got into undergraduate at UMass Dartmouth, worked really hard there in engineering and loved engineering and science. And so decided to go to graduate school. Went to Purdue University for graduate school. Absolutely loved the sciences. Decided to just hold off. I love flying airplanes and fast cars and motorcycles and things too. But I decided to hold off on the aviation thing and go get an engineering job on the West Coast, which was fantastic. Great learning, great experience. But I knew I needed to go fly airplanes as I was investigating the route. Do I want to go to a PhD and then try to be an astronaut, or do I want to fly airplanes, be a test pilot, and try to be an astronaut? And I decided that the path for me was to go be a pilot and then a test pilot, knowing that was a very challenging, physically challenging, mentally challenging path to take. But it was a natural path for me to take. So I ended up doing that, and some years later, here I am, lucky.
There you go. Thank you. All right, Nemo, what inspired you to be an astronaut?
As I mentioned before, I've never dreamed about becoming an astronaut when I was a kid. But before becoming an astronaut, I was working for the Navy, Japan Navy, as a medical officer and diving officer. So I was working for the diving medicine for a long time. Then I got interested in the extreme environment medicine and also space medicine. Then, okay, let's think about becoming an astronaut or working in the space, world. Then I was lucky enough to be selected as an astronaut candidate from Japanese Space Agency.
Yeah. Anton?
Ну, как сказал, это была моя мечта с детства. В 70-е годы, когда я родился, все мальчишки и девчонки в Советском Союзе мечтали стать космонавтами.
As I mentioned previously, it was my childhood dream. In the 1970s, when I was born in the Soviet Union, all boys and girls were dreaming of becoming cosmonauts.
Я много читал книг о космонавтах, смотрел различные фильмы, передачи и выстроил для себя некий план, как стать космонавтом.
I read a lot of books about space exploration and cosmonauts, and I watched a lot of different documentaries and programs about space exploration, and I prepared a plan of how I was going to become a cosmonaut.
Ну, первое, я решил, что обязательно стану военным летчиком, как Юрий Гагарин.
First of all, I decided I was going to be a military pilot, same as Yuri Gagarin.
Поэтому я, когда еще учился в школе, я начал летать на маленьких спортивных самолетах еще с 15 лет.
So when I was still in high school, when I turned 15, I started flying small sports airplanes.
После этого я, как и мейкер, поступил в летное военное училище.
Same as Maker, entered the pilot school.
Потом я закончил военно-воздушную академию.
Then I graduated from the Air Force Academy.
Немного полетал в пилотажных группах в России.
I served as a pilot for a while in Russia.
И когда набрался уже опыта как летчик в 30 лет, я написал рапорт и начал отбор в отряд космонавтов.
And when I gained valuable flight experience at 30 years old, I filed my report application to become a member of the Cosmonaut Corps.
После этого я 8 лет готовился к своему первому полету, но вот сейчас уже накануне своего третьего полета.
Then I spent 8 years training for my very first space flight, and now my third space flight is approaching.
Awesome. What a journey. Thank you all for sharing. I think we have another question here in the room.
Ueno from Fuji Television. It's Japan. The question is related to the experiment, and I want to ask to Kanai-san. As you said, you are excited to do the research, lots of research in the space. I know most of them is important, but which one is most excited to do? And also, how important is it for us in the Earth or in the future?
Okay, that can be a difficult question, but I'm interested in the human health research. Like Scott mentioned, we are astronauts are not only helping, supporting experiment, but also we can be a medical or research subject of the science. So we draw bloods or collect urines or saliva as a research specimen. So I'm interested in that kind of human research because partially because I'm a medical doctor, and also how can I say, the astronaut human body in space is a good representative of like a aging process of the human on the Earth. So as by studying astronauts' body in space, we can figure out what is the aging process actually, is it. So maybe the astronaut research can contribute to good medical treatment on the Earth.
Great. That's a great example of a benefit from spaceflight that, as you talked about, the muscles and the bones deteriorate so much faster and at a different pace in space. And so we can study in space what it takes much longer to study on the ground for the bones and the muscles. And I know that one of the benefits for people with osteoporosis is space research and changing the diet and medicines and things like that to help with that. So it's great. All right, we have another question over here.
Hi, I'm George Carlson, the KC5 RCC with the Makerspace Maker Barn in Magnolia, Texas. And I'm an amateur radio guy, and I was wondering if any of you guys were amateur radio guys, and if you're going to activate the station on board the ISS while you're up there.
Yep, I'm a ham radio guy, and we've got several events already planned out as part of our outreach effort while I'm on station. So hopefully I'll be talking to you on ham radio.
taking a tour before we got here. We noticed that all the patches are different for each mission. And they said that you guys designed the patch for your mission, and it has special meaning, I'm sure, to you guys. Could you explain the artwork on your patch?
Sure. This patch was actually designed by Tim Gagnon, and we looked at it and modified it a little bit. Obviously, the 55 is our expedition. When you look at the Earth and the colors represent how beautiful our planet is and how we take care of it. We've got the flags that come up that represent the three countries that are representative by the crew on this expedition, and as well we've got the three rings together, coming together to fill a common goal and getting the science done on station. And those three rings represent Russia, United States, and Japan as part of the crew represented in this expedition for that. Keep in mind there are 16 to 18 international partners at any time, and we are appreciative of all of them.
Great, thank you. Very interesting. All right, I think we have another question in the room. Anybody else? All right, do we have one for social media?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one from Jen on Twitter. She asks, have you ever wished others could travel to the space station to gain your perspective? And maybe you can talk a little bit about how you might plan to share that with us on social media.
Ну, я могу сказать, что мы примерно по полгода проводим на станции. Это довольно тяжелая, но при этом интересная работа.
I should say that we spent about 6 months on board of the ISS. It's hard work, but it's very interesting.
У нас, конечно, очень дружный коллектив работает на станции, но вот если бы можно было взять всех своих родных и близких и друзей на станцию, я бы, конечно, был очень счастлив.
You see, we have a well-built team on board of the ISS, and if I were somehow given a chance to bring all my friends and family members on board of the ISS, I would be very happy.
Yeah, same for me. If I had a choice, I'd bring you all with me. It would just make it so much easier.
A lot of us wish that could happen, right?
that would be so great. And even though we can't physically, I will be bringing you all and my family and friends with me in my heart and soul. But through social media, it's really a great capability with technology that we have these days. We'll be sending down pictures. We'll be sending down information in 120-word bytes on Twitter, as well as other public releases that Megan's gonna set up for us and get out. So we're gonna try really hard to give you the best window that we can into the cosmos and into our daily routines, so that so you can see what it's like up there and what we're doing and the benefits that we're bringing. So stay tuned.
Nemo, anything to add? Nope. All right, yeah, one thing we all look forward to here on the ground is to see the pictures that you guys take from space. It's really a perspective that most of us will never have a chance to see, but you guys will see that, and so we enjoy being able to see your pictures and as easily as getting on Twitter or Facebook and all of that, so thank you for that. All right, we have one more reporter on the phone bridge, Barbara LeBlanc with UMass Dartmouth.
Hi, thank you. I just had a question about the cooperative nature visit. Do you see this as a model in any way for international cooperation on other seemingly intractable issues that are out there?
Absolutely. This program has been steady, it's been consistent, and it's been reliable. When at the working level, we are very tight. When I go over to train in Russia, they treat me like their family, and they're very interested in my success. And when folks from Russia come over here, they do exactly the same thing here, and the same with Japan, the same with Europe, the same as any other country that we're working with. I think anybody in this program will pretty much agree that this is a real good model for international partnership.
Anything to add?
No? У меня всегда есть такая мечта, чтобы взять, собрать руководителей всех самых крупных государств нашей планеты, их посадить в космический корабль и отправить в космос.
I always had a dream of gathering together the leaders of all the largest countries in the world, putting them in one spaceship and launching them into space.
Главное, я, конечно, это не хочу, чтобы one-way ticket. Нет, нет. Я хочу, чтобы они своими глазами увидели со стороны, какая у нас прекрасная голубая планета.
And the main reason, not what you were thinking, is to let them see our planet from space and see how wonderful it is in blue.
Я надеюсь, что после этого, когда они вернутся на Землю, они поймут, что на примере Международной космической станции люди, которые имеют разное происхождение, разную культуру, могут работать вместе и созидать что-то общее для всего человечества.
I hope that after they come back to Earth, they will understand that ISS is a great example of how people with different backgrounds, coming from different cultures, can create something together and contribute to the common goal.
Great. I think that's a great way to end. We're excited to see you guys go to space and such an international crew, and we can't wait to see you launch. So I just want to remind everybody, you guys can follow this whole crew on social media. They're all on Twitter. Scott is at @astro_maker. Nemo is at @astro_kanai, and Anton is at Anton Ashtray. And then you can also follow Scott and Anton on Instagram. So definitely look forward to all the pictures that they'll be sending down and following them throughout their mission. And you can follow the International Space Station, everything going on board, the work they're doing every day to benefit humanity at Space Station at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and learn more about the space station at nasa.gov/station. And don't forget to tune in to their launch on December 17th. You can watch it live at nasa.gov/live, and also on the International Space Station Facebook page on Facebook Live. So thank you all so much for being here with the room and online today, and thank you guys for sharing your mission, and we look forward to seeing you in space.
Thank you, Megan.
Have a good one.
Thanks, folks. Thank you.